Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for joining our webinar this afternoon on how P3 helps Connecticut propane marketers stay compliant. Joining me today is my colleague, Shawn Litchfield. Shawn is the Vice President of P3 Propane Safety, and he's very much involved with the ongoing development. Also joining us as our guest speaker is Rob Hauck from New England Propane in Bethel, Connecticut. He's the Director of Operations and Safety. And so Rob's going to talk about his experience with P3. He's actually worked at 2 different companies that actually had P3. So he is a great resource in that regard. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Shawn Litchfield, and we will kick this off.
Awesome. Thanks, Gerry, and thank you, Rob, for joining. Thanks, everybody else. So Rob, just to kind of, I guess, kick this off with the name of the webinar, helping, Connecticut propane marketers with compliance. What would you say some of your favorite P3 features would be, and how do you feel, it's helped you guys manage safety and compliance over there at New England Propane?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love the dashboard. That function where it kind of consolidates a lot of the compliance stuff and it's all at your fingertips to access. Makes not only completing the compliance information easier, but obtaining it as well. So being able to pull reports, being able to review in depth what the guys are doing, help coach them. If they're not filling certain things out exactly the way I want to see them. Love the picture review. That's a daily process. Each time our guys are on site, they take a lot of pictures. And again, it's hard to get out from behind your desk to make sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But being able to review that on a daily basis for each job and document what's going on, and then report back to the guys what we need to do or what they're doing well, so on and so forth. It's a really nice feature that we didn't have before. We didn't have access to that before turning on to P3.
Gotcha. Emma, maybe could you share the screen or can I share my screen, Emma, if you could give me the controls? Yep. Just to kind of give a visual as to what Rob's talking about with some of these things here. So let's just make sure I got the right one. All right. Can we see the dashboard?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, just Rob, just kind of jumping back to the dashboard side of things and the photo review process. So the dashboard here, this is not your company. We're obviously not going to be sharing everybody's data on this thing, but in an effort just to help everybody understand, the dashboard's there to kind of highlight things that may have gone wrong or require some type of follow-up that you can then address, again, like you said, kind of from your desk and not have to review every single form that comes in, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it's a really nice function, and like I said, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So sometimes the way the guys write things out, hard to understand, and we have to debrief them, but pictures certainly help get an idea of what's going on and what needs to be addressed.
And you would also mention kind of the ongoing learning or the teaching that P3 can kind of provide, with the mobile side of things. So the
Yes.
mobile professor, the error recognition technology that exists. So just again, to kind of give folks an idea as to what we're talking about there. If you're there, this is an interruption to service example. I'm there to do a leak check. Things like mobile professor to help everybody understand what to do properly. If there's a question about procedure, I mean, we get very detail oriented when it comes to this stuff, depending upon what device you're using, water manometer, block gauge, test block, all that can be found in there. And then depending upon the method that you're using, again, different things are going to be caught based on what's entered. So this is just an example of a leak check. We go out, we're using a water manometer. Well, not so fast, right? So we're catching this in real time. And do you ever get feedback, Rob, from folks in the field that this has helped them, or anything along those lines?
It definitely goes both ways. I mean, obviously, anybody that's in operations, the less phone calls you have to take, the better. So when the guys have that information at their fingertips, they get the answers right away. And it really, like you said, it goes in depth. It's to the point where it'll spell it out to the processes that they need to do. And it's really helped them because like you just showed, if you do something wrong, it'll catch them right then and there. You're not catching it in the afternoon or the next day when you're reviewing the paperwork. It's stopping them in their tracks to make sure that we're documenting it appropriately, and that's the name of the game, really.
Great. Yeah, no, I love it. And then the photo documentation process, you had given a good example of this to us when we had talked. It's not just quality of work and things like that. There's other things, and maybe you noticed this more in Connecticut than somewhere else, but you gave, I think it was a log set story, and I thought that was a great one, if you don't mind bringing that up again.
Absolutely. It saved our skin. So one of the things that is kind of mandatory that I try to get our guys to do on every job is take pictures. So we had installed a log set for a customer a month prior, and part of their responsibility is to make sure we take a picture of that log set before we leave to show that it's operating, to show how the logs are set, so on and so forth. Well, we got a call about a month later saying that it sooted up and it ruined the customer's white carpet and couch and furnishings. So we came back out and the logs had been moved, they had been reset, they were covering a burner, improper combustion caused it to soot up. And we had documentation and proof that, hey, the last time we were here, the last time we touched it, it did not look like this. So not that we wanted to argue with the customer, but we had proof to back it up. And it was, it saved us a hefty cleanup bill that the customer was trying to put on us. So that's the whole reason why we do that.
Yeah. And there's just so many other examples that you could, either think of or not think of, probably, that we're not thinking of, that will come up. And that's where the photo documentation thing can really do a CYA on everybody. So no, I thought that was great. Thank you for getting into more detail there. So jumping back to kind of the P3 side and the compliance side and reporting wise, there's the dashboard, which is kind of its own intuitive report based on the information coming in, but we're also creating real-time reporting for you guys on things that you may not have that type of ability to have real-time reports, using other softwares and things like that. So in P3, what have you found to be kind of the most useful reporting features, and whether you're using them or want to get into them soon?
Well, it shows it right there. Priority follow-up. That was something that we briefly discussed before. It's a tracker in itself. That's why I really like the dashboard, because we have a lot of customers, we have a lot of issues, small issues, big issues, whatever it might be. We go through that report pretty much on a daily, weekly basis to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, to make sure that we take care of the customer. If we need to send them a proposal, or if it's a lease system, we need to get back out there and swap out that regulator or vent it away. It really helps us stay on track, because there's, our previous system, things slip through the cracks and you go, oh, wait, I forgot to do that. And it's 2 months down the road. This really makes sure that we stay on top of it and get it addressed. I really like that feature. And again, we're starting to do the cathodic protection, entering all that kind of stuff in. So we're kind of at the infancy stage for that, but it's a great tracking method. And we look to build that report out to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to be doing.
I think we've heard from a lot of our clients that while a lot of other software companies can do this, and it's not a knock, I mean, it's just our focus is safety. That's what we do. And a lot of times the software companies, their focus is the operation side, which is obviously a huge necessity. But that's why I think it's such a good marriage between backend software's P3, where we can drill into the things that are compliance related and get very focused on that. And we've heard that we save a lot of time as it relates to running these reports, because it's simple. It's click and there's my list. That's where I need to get to. That's how we conduct our follow-up. I do also just want to go back. You had mentioned the priority follow-up, and something that caught my ear was developing a quote for the customer. What you don't see a lot in this industry is billable work. It's not always going to end up being billable. You're going to have that conversation with the customer, but when you have that photo documentation, when you have the proper follow-up policy, it does lead to more billable service work. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And especially, I think the most important thing is the speed of the follow-up when it comes to the customer. You are much more likely when you do the daily review of the pictures and then put your notes in and document what needs to happen. The quicker you can get that information in and then back out to the customer with a quote, the more successful you're going to be in closing that and getting the work done. So it's
Yeah.
definitely helped us out big time. Again, trying to utilize what P3 offers.
And these are things you see a lot. Probably the most common. I don't know if it is the same for you guys, Rob, but our most common visual would be some type of regulator that's not remote vented away from a source of ignition. You know, and
Yep.
this is an example of a pool heater, but we see it with air conditioning units. You see it with generators. Very common. And again, you start, if it's customer owned, that's maybe a different story than a company owned scenario. I mean, there's a lot of different nuances that can occur, but nonetheless, you know, in the end, if we can make it billable, that's a win.
Yeah, and it's easy for me, you know, I'm a little bit higher up, I'm at the 100,000 foot level, but I do have an inside salesperson. So as you see here, what the issues are: condition of hazard, details, additional details, comments, and follow-up. And, you know, we all say, you know, that meeting could have been an email. That's kind of what this is. You know, I can document, debrief the guys, write everything down, and then pass it along to my inside salesperson where they can easily pick up this information and carry it on to the customer. So again, streamline efficiency. If we can make things go smoother, that's what we're looking for. And again, that's what this P3 program's offering.
Awesome. Yeah. And the ease of resolution too. What's nice to have is when you have these priority follow-ups, the way that we're going to clear those is getting a new photo. That service work gets completed. We got a new photo. Now we've got a before and an after. And that's a level of protection. I think that's nice to have.
Yeah, I sleep a lot better with it. If you want my honest
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Nice. And I think you guys getting into the DOT cylinder recertification as well.
Yeah. So it's again, we're still building out. I mean, right now our goal is to get every customer into P3. So we're using that. We're still a little archaic. We have a spreadsheet in Excel that we're currently using. But again, this is something that I want to start utilizing because you said it earlier, it just simplifies things. It's all right there. It'll tell you exactly who the customer is, how old the tank is, and it just makes scheduling and getting it done a lot easier.
Yep. Understood. And then, well, great. Yeah, I think, you know, the reporting side, the expired regulators, you know, right on your dashboard, who they are, where they are, what needs to be done. I think that just it's all about the efficiency and kind of building that into the process. So awesome. I think that's great. I guess I don't know, Rob, I don't have a ton more. Is there anything that you would just kind of want to talk to other marketers that are in Connecticut that, you know, in terms of just why it's been valuable to you, you know, what you'd give the pros of and cons even of P3?
Well, I there's a lot of pros. Like you know, I've used you guys at two different companies. I've been up at New England for about 2 years. As soon as I got here, it was a no-brainer. We called you guys and then we got on board with you. We obviously work in a very high liability industry. It all comes down to documentation. If you didn't write it, it never happened. And if you wrote it wrong, that's even worse. So again, we're all human. We're trying to take the human error out of it. We're trying to make sure that our forms are legible, that they're presented professionally. But I always go by the saying, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So it only takes one instance, one problem to cause a big headache. And if you document things appropriately, if you guys are understanding out in the field what they're expected to do, how it's supposed to be done, what it's supposed to look like, it just makes things go a heck of a lot smoother. And again, I don't know of any other system out there that does it as well as what you guys are doing. And that's why, you know, it was a no-brainer when I first got here. I didn't really even have to pitch it to my my president, my GM. It was this is great, and let's do it. So I think that's the pros. I mean, from back in the old days of carbon copy paperwork and your techs aren't writing things down, or they miss something, you miss something during the review. it causes a big backlog and a big headache. And I really, really like the fact that it's almost an immediate satisfaction out of all aspects, from the beginning to the middle to the end, like you explained with the photo follow-up and the priority follow-ups. It's just, we're trying to use more and more of it, and getting away from how we used to do things, and it's really helped us out.
And you kind of brought that up, and I was actually hoping you could maybe just explain a little more detail about kind of that before and after, the implementation of P3. And there's got to be a learning curve. So, not to discount that, but like once you've got it down, it's like, it seemed a lot easier.
It's smoother. Yeah. I mean, surprisingly, I give a lot of credit to my guys. The transition to P3 was not that hard. You guys were hip to hip with us with any questions. It was, and there were very few. It's pretty self-explanatory. The guys, it took maybe a couple weeks for them to get the hang of it. And now it's just been from the process of them completing the work, the debrief, to then making sure it's on the account. It just takes a lot of administrative work out of our hands, and it kind of helps us do the work for us. In other words, with the organizing and keeping it together. It's definitely have less paperwork on my desk, which I love. So, but again, I think we're just kind of scratching the surface on how much we can use with this program, and I really, really want to continue to try to get all the customers on there, get everything on there, and build our reports out. And it'll be beneficial for years to come.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you. Very kind words, Rob. And, to give it back to you guys are one of the better run companies I have come across, and we do appreciate your business. You guys, you do a lot right. And, it's important because it matters to everybody. I think, we had talked about this, the safety is not a competitive feature. This is something that's important to everybody in the state of Connecticut, across the country. Anybody that's involved in propane, safety is critical to stay on top of, because it affects us all, really.
Absolutely. It's the name of the game.
It is. So I don't know, Gerry or Emma, did any questions come in that make sense to talk through, or?
No questions came in.
Good questions.
All right. Well,
all right.
We must have crushed it.
Well, hey, Shawn and Rob, thank you for your time today. This has been great. I feel like, hopefully the folks that were on that get to see this will have a lot of takeaways from it. So again, thank you all for joining us. Rob, thank you again for your time. Shawn, thank you, and hope everyone has a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.